Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another Morning in the Mountains podcast. Today we're going to talk about coffee. And actually, I tried to make a video clip in a coffee shop recently, yesterday morning, but because of the air conditioning, the coffee machines, the loudness of the people, and the general discontentment in the air, it didn't work out well. So here I am at home, and I want to describe for you my experience of the coffee shop yesterday. Well, the coffee shop was called Tim Hortons. This is a Canadian brand of coffee shop, same as Starbucks or Costa Coffee. It's a little bit expensive, so I wouldn't be able to go there every day. Costa means coast in Spanish. In English, it means money, which costs something. For example, to buy a product might cost £1 or £2. So we have a joke here about Costa Coffee. It is indeed Costa Coffee. It costs a lot of money. Tim Hortons is a Canadian coffee shop, and to have my coffee, I had to pay £3.29. The general ambience of the place was not very exciting. I was surrounded completely by glass. People were walking past and staring in, and the place was full of sofas. As you would expect, some of these sofas were stained a little bit with coffee. The floor was clean. The place was generally clean, but it reminded me of a nursing home, perhaps a care facility for old people. The only thing missing was the television, which perhaps would have been played at very high volume for people who couldn't hear very well. The bandage-coloured wallpapers, and in general the cream kind of effect of the walls mixed with brown, didn't really do much for my psychology. In fact, it made me feel a little bit old. When I was handed the coffee, there seemed to be some recognition that perhaps I was older than the barista who gave me the coffee. She looked at me and she said, "Here you are, sir. Now, do you need a bit of paper to write down your track and trace details?" And I looked at her and I said, "No, like everyone else, I scanned the barcode on the door on my way in." And she said, "Okay, you don't look like the kind of person who would have a mobile phone." I thought, what does that mean? I don't look like the kind of person who would have a mobile phone. What kind of person has a mobile phone, and what does he look like? I thought to myself. But I suppose she was trying to be helpful. As I looked around, I saw two very, very old people in the corner, and she went up to them with a bit of paper as well and assumed they didn't have mobile phones. The track and trace system here is the system where we have to complete a form or scan a barcode to check in where we are. We have to do that so that if they find COVID there, somebody will call me and tell me that I have COVID or I've been in contact with COVID at least. And to be honest, I don't really feel very comfortable with that. I usually avoid these track and trace applications if I can. Having said that though, last week I went to another town which is called Largs. When I tried to enter a coffee shop there, the barista came up to me and said, "Have you done your track and trace?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Let me see, I want to check." I said, "Oh, okay." So I showed her my track and trace receipt on the telephone. Fortunately, my browser was still open, and she looked at me suspiciously and said, "Okay, now you can enter." I thought, oh my goodness me, What a strict world we live in, full of suspicion. Anyway, one of the reasons why my coffee may have been a little bit more expensive is because I ordered a soya decaffeinated latte. For those of you who know me, you probably know that I stopped drinking coffee a long time ago. And therefore, when I have coffee, I always make sure it's decaf. Some people ask me, what is the point of drinking a soya decaf latte? Because you're paying money without really getting any effect. You're not getting the coffee buzz. But it's nice to get out the house sometimes, isn't it? And to do something a little bit different. Coffee shops here are always very expensive. That's probably because the coffee is imported or has its own brand. We do still have English cafes, even though English tea rooms have long since disappeared. English cafes, though, are kind of like English pubs. They're sadly not very popular, not very clean, and there's always a question mark over what you're getting. I'm pleased to say that English coffee shops, we don't see them very much. They've all been replaced by these kind of mega pub chains where you can pop in for a coffee in the morning. Or if you feel like it, you can pop in for a beer from 8 a.m. in England. In Scotland, the licensing laws for alcohol are a little bit different. You would have to wait until 11 a.m. However, alcohol itself is fully allowed on public transport. So if you do have access to alcohol that maybe you bought the day before, you can indeed get on a train or a bus and just enjoy your moment on there with your bottle. I find this quite disturbing, especially having lived in other countries. I've seen people here, as perhaps I've told you before, passing around the train what looks like a bottle of water, but what is in fact a bottle of vodka. They simply take a water bottle and fill it with vodka so it looks like it's only sparkling or pure water at least. But sadly, this is a big part of our culture, and there's a lot of denial takes place. These people don't think it's strange. They don't think it's odd, maybe drinking vodka first thing in the morning. And it's very easy to see who's doing it by their behaviour, because they always look just a little bit more shifty than anybody else. Getting back to the coffee shop though, Tim Hortons, this Canadian brand, has all kinds of Canadian style decor. Certainly the glass and the bandage coloured wallpaper is very British, but a few of the seats were kind of tartan coloured, and there were references in some of the pictures that I saw on the walls to Canada and its outdoor life. One of the sad things about all these coffee shops is, of course, you're handed a receipt, which is actually much bigger than the coffee is, and it wants you to give feedback to your favourite barista. How was it? Was it good? If he could have served you better, what could he have done? And it's a very nice thing to do, but it's a little bit accusatory because it wants me to say bad things. Or, on the other hand, I could turn it around and make it very positive by giving the barista a 10. But to be honest with you, I don't really want to give the barista a mark. He was doing his job. Did he do it excellently? Did he do it poorly? Well, I don't think I'm in a position to judge. Another thing about our coffee shops is they seem to put them in the middle of these huge commercial shopping malls, which you can only reach if you drive. Now, I don't drive, but I'm fortunate enough to live round the corner from one of these malls. at the side of Tim Hortons, I could see the sign which said drive through, where you can just drive around the block, get your coffee and pay for it. And these days, we're encouraged to make a random act of kindness by paying for the coffee for the car in France. It seems that you order your coffee in the first part, and then you drive round to the second part to pay for it, or you do the opposite. You pay in the first part and you drive round to the second part. I don't know quite how it works because I don't drive, but you're encouraged to try to pay for someone else's coffee as a random act of kindness. It's not the kind of thing I would do. As much as I love people, I certainly wouldn't be rushing away to buy them a coffee, whoever they are. That was my experience of coffee shops yesterday. Well, I can't really say coffee shops because it was, after all, only one. And of course, being in the middle of this industrial estate, I was able to leave, cross the road and go to the supermarket before returning home. We don't have to wear masks inside coffee shops, but we do have to wear masks if we are in the supermarket. We don't have to wear masks on the street, and it looks like from the 21st of June we won't have to wear masks at all. But the government is reviewing that decision because they've discovered that the virus, formerly known as the Indian variant, it's now called the Delta variant because of connotations with racism. There's been a few racist attacks. That variant is becoming a little bit more problematic. Speaking of vaccines, I received my letter to go for my second vaccine in July. The government always sends us letters. They don't text us about our vaccine appointments. And I received a huge blue letter in the post. It's like a big blue envelope. And this is the way the government tells the post office that it's a vaccine appointment and therefore should be delivered urgently. So when the postman put through this huge blue envelope, well, I felt like I was at the Oscars. I was holding this envelope and I wanted to open it and say, well, thank you to all of you who supported me. It was lovely. And a special big thanks to the producer, the directors, and the cast and crew of the movie. Of course, when I opened it, it was simply an appointment telling me to go and instructing me about what I have to do if I want to go. Make sure I go alone. Make sure that I'm feeling well. Make sure that I report to a certain person at a certain time. Do not try to come early. Do not try to come late. It was something which was, a little bit expected because they're trying to be very, very careful these days. Well, that's all from me. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast, and I know that I'm missing one because I didn't do a podcast last week. So I hope to redeem myself by doing another this weekend. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.